Hey, what's going on? How's it going? It's been a while. This is a what's on the table video, and I guess a little bit of an update video. I think I've been gone off of this channel for a solid 2 or 3 months, maybe 3 months, and there's a lot of, not a lot. There's a couple comments I need to respond to. I noticed because I don't check the channel every day, but I did today, and I noticed that there are some new comments from some different viewers that I don't recognize, and so I'll get to those eventually. And we're just going to shoot a real quick video and take a look at what's on the table. This is some new stuff mixed with some paperback books that I have been organizing and going through. This is stuff, some of this is stuff that I've read in the past. It's all stuff I've had a long time. It's stuff that I've read in the past, but I want to revisit and read again. And so I keep it all around, and much of it is stuff that I don't remember all that well because I read it once, 20, 30, 40 years ago. So, and then also we've got some Ultra Monsters from the Bondi Ultraman Ultra Monster line. These are contemporary present day figures that you can find out there. These are just new ones that are in my collection. I have a large collection of these figures. They range between, I don't know, 4.5 and 5 inches tall. Most of them are around 5 inches tall. This is the newest one that I just picked up. He's really cool. I don't know the names of these characters because the packaging that the little card that they come with is all in Japanese. And, doesn't usually say the name of the monster in English, so you have to look it up on your phone. That's what I do. And then sometimes they have, see, this particular line doesn't have it, but you can see the spot where it typically would go. Now there's a little, it's called a sound sword. It's a little sword that you put a battery inside it and it expands and makes noises. So a couple years ago, these lines of figures used to have a little sound chip on the bottom of the foot of all of the figures. See that right there? That's where the chip would go, but this one, it doesn't have the chip. So then what you would do is you would put the sound sword on the chip, and then it would make the noise that the monster makes in the Ultraman show, and then it would say the monster's name in Japanese and in English. And sometimes you could almost understand what they were saying if you knew the monster's name prior. Like if you knew it was Baragon or something, you could see Baragon. You go, oh, he said Baragon. That's what happens. These are the newer, maybe the newest Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle figures. I picked these up because they were on sale or on clearance for $6 a piece. And they're pretty nice. I like them. I guess they're from, it's called Mutant Mayhem. It's this new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles feature that I haven't seen, but I do like the design of the figures. They're cool, they're sturdy, they're made for kids to play with. They're something that I can keep around for a couple of years and maybe pass on to my grandson. He might really like these. They're made to be played with. They have good articulation, and they're about 4.5 inches tall. You can see that they're the same size as almost the same size, basically, as these Ultra Monsters. Let's see. So that was Raphael. Here's what Leonardo looks like. They come with a lot of accessories. This is just stuff that they've got holding in the table, but each figure comes with a lot of extra weapons. Here's Michelangelo. I like the different head sculpts, and I like the different colors of green that each figure has. And then, look, here's Donatello. They give him glasses and a fanny pack with a cell phone. See that? So he could be, I guess, live streaming or vlogging the Turtles' escapades in the metaverse. Okay, let's look at books. Let's start with these ones in the center right here. Dominic Flandry, A Stone in Heaven. So I remember Poul Anderson. I remember really liking this book. It's been decades. I read this when I was in the Army in about 1990. I need to read it again. Hijacked. This is a choose your own adventure book that I've never read. I need to read it. Star Trek V. Let's take a look and see what's in here. So these are adaptations of the original Star Trek episodes, adapted by James Blish. These are really fun. I read these when I was a kid in the 70s and 80s. And so let's look at the episodes. There's some good ones in here, right? The Way to Eden, Tholian Web, This Side of Paradise. Here's John Steinbeck's The Pearl. I read this in 8th grade. Required reading. I remember enjoying it. About Kino, the Pearl Diver. I had to read a lot of Steinbeck as a kid because of the school that I went to. Analogs, maybe other people read Steinbeck, but it was specific where I lived in the school I attended. It was required. Analog 6. This is a collection of science fiction short stories. They used to compile these, I guess, every year from Analog magazine, which was a science fiction magazine. This is really good stuff. I don't believe I've ever read this. 14 remarkable stories from the pages of Analog. So this is something that I still need to read. I need to pick this. I need to read it. I've had it for many decades. I guess I originally bought this because of this really cool cover, obviously. I guess I picked this up at a used bookstore in Monterey. This was a Christmas gift from my older sister when I was 10. This is The Little Prince. It's really good. If you haven't read this, I recommend it. There's something to it. It's been years since I've seen this movie or reread this book. So it could be about cultural Marxism. I don't remember. This is a great book I read when I was in the Army. I remember loving this book, and I actually just recently watched this movie on Tubi. This is really good. The New Centurions by Joseph Wambaugh. I like how it says there, do you like cops? Read The New Centurion. Do you hate cops? Read The New Centurion. So this is about cops in Los Angeles in the 1960s. This is a Conan import. Look at that great cover. This is a Conan import that I got at Thunderbird Books in Carmel. Australia recommended price only. This is a great book. If you haven't read this book, I really recommend it. If you've seen the movie, it's fine because the book is different enough from the movie, and it needs to be understood and appreciated and enjoyed. If you liked the movie, then you will like the book even more than the movie. That's how I would describe it. Ken Kesey, who wrote this book, he was a famous counterculture writer and poet, part of the Merry Pranksters. He knew a lot of counterculture and people in the 1950s and 60s. When he wrote this book, he hadn't met those people yet or done any of those things. He was in college in Oregon, I believe, and he had a part-time job working in a psychiatric hospital, and that is where he got the idea for this story. This is Hunters of Gore. I really like these John Norman Gore books. They're outrageous and sensationalistic and wild. It's kind of like, it's very much similar to Edgar Rice Burroughs, except turned up 10 notches to make it salacious and outrageous. So there's more sex, violence, there's a lot of slavery, a lot of, I mean, that's basically, I'm telling you that a lot of these books are about alien races enslaving other alien races, if I remember correctly. This is the first Star Wars paperback that I got. It would have been probably in late 77 or early 78. Probably Christmas of 77 is when I got this. It has the photographs on the inside from the movie that I would have looked at over and over and over again. And that's the reason why it's kind of bent right there. See that? That's just from me looking at the pictures. I never read this book. I still haven't read this. I need to read this. You know, I take that back. I think I did read this then. I actually, pretty sure I read this in 1977. Or 78. I read it. The Edgar Cayce Reader. This is America's most famous prophet on prophecy, health, reincarnation, dreams, telepathy. This guy used to be a household word. And he's I guess you could say maybe most likely a huckster or a charlatan. August Derleth, The Trail of Cthulhu in the tradition of H.P. Lovecraft. More stories of terror unleashed. I like that. Ballantines science fiction horror. This is, decidedly satanic and evil. Yes, probably 1970s. I picked this up, and I don't remember reading this, so I need to read this. Yeah, I need to read this and familiarize myself with these stories, and some of these may even have been adapted into something else at this point on film or television. So I want to look at that. Something I need to read that I haven't read before as well. I have a number of these old Ian Fleming paperbacks from the 60s, and I have not read this one called The Diamond Smugglers, which I don't believe to be a James Bond book. Okay, we're almost done. Here's our last stack. This is Bonko, The Future Adventures of Papillon. So me and my buddies, I don't know where I got these. So somehow, some way, I can't remember how I got these paperbacks, but when I was in Saudi Arabia in the first Gulf War, I had Papillon and Bonko. And first I read Papillon and I passed it on to all the guys in my squad, like all 5 of us, ended up reading both of these books. We ended up reading Papillon, and then we ended up reading Bonko. And we were both we were all really into both of the books, and talked about them. And as we were all reading that, taking turns reading it. So I remember really liking these books. It's about, if you don't know what I'm talking, Papillon and Bonko. So this is about a convicted criminal from France in, what is it, about 1910? I feel like it's the early 1900s. And I can't remember, though, maybe 1920s. Anyway, this guy Papillon is a criminal from France who is sentenced to life in prison in French Guyana, in this place called Devil's Island in I guess South America. And that's it. That's what it's about. Him escaping and then being recaptured and then escaping again and having further adventures. The Explainers by Jules Feiffer. I have not read. Speaking of which, I want to read these again. Somewhere I have Papillon as well, so I'll read these again. Even though I've read them before, I want to read them again to refresh my memory and to relive the moments and everything. I haven't read this yet. This looks good. It looks interesting. Jules Feiffer is a social, what would you call it, satirist? And an artist. Yeah, he's famous for a lot of stuff. You know this guy, right? I guess he was a really close friend with Hugh Hefner, probably. Is that right? Did he know Hugh Hefner? Hugh Hefner? I don't know. I can't remember. This is one of those Star Trek photo novels from the early 80s. This one has a little bit of water damage down here. These are cool. It'll be the entire episode in screenshots with every line in the entire episode, word for word. Let's think. Can you think of any other television show that was so popular that they marketed something like what we're looking at right here? I can't. It's got to be. I mean, the Hulk happened. So there was one of these photo novels of the Hulk, the Incredible Hulk television show with Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno. That's the one I can think of. I can't think of anything else. There's probably other stuff. We're almost done. I'll hurry up and get done here. Dandelion Wine by Ray Bradbury. I remember this being, what does it say? Captivating novel of a boy's magical summer. Oh, this looks like it's... So I read this maybe twice when I was a kid. I think I read it twice because I liked it so much, but I need to reread this. So I like this spooky Ray Bradbury stuff from the 70s. I was exposed to it in the 70s. The other one I like is called Halloween Tree. Halloween Tree. This is a John Steinbeck book that is not a novel. It was a big deal when it came out. You can see it says #1 bestseller. This is at the end of John Steinbeck's career. He took a trip, an RV trip, with himself and his dog, by himself, and just him and his dog, Charlie, which was the standard black poodle that you can see right here. And he just traveled from coast to coast, from the East Coast to the West Coast, and he stopped and he met people in different places, and he shared meals with them. And that's what this is about. So I really like John Steinbeck. It was, put in me early on, as I mentioned. It was required reading. We had to read a bunch of stuff in 8th grade, and so that's how that started. Peyton Place. I haven't read this. This was also like a explosive bestseller, #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. Grace Metalius. That's a great name. I got to remember that. I didn't know that's who wrote. Grace Metalius wrote Peyton Place. So this is like a soap opera. I don't know because I haven't read it. I just know there was a phenomenon surrounding it. Grace Metalius is the young housewife in blue jeans who created America's most controversial novel. I need to read this. About small-town USA, which has been damned and banned, is hailed as one of the most extraordinary literary discoveries of recent years. I didn't know it was damned and banned. Okay, let's read that. Steinbeck, Of Mice and Men. This is a great one as well. I remember this is probably the one that I read the most as a kid in 8th grade. I believe I did a full report on this, so I probably read this 3 or 4 different times. This is Shaggy Dog that came from the Scholastic book catalog in about 4th grade. I'm glad I still have this. I wish I had more of the Scholastic books, but I threw away all my children's books. It's like in the 90s and I never should have. Last thing we'll look at is this zine called Irene. It just says Irene. Let's look at this. This is interesting. This is from an artist that I bought this in Golden Gate Park from the creator. It's a rainbow of color, a dream of beauty, a wild bust of laughter, and regular hot stuff. I remember liking this. I bought this about 15 years ago, as I mentioned, from the artist in Golden Gate Park. I even purchased a print of this image because I like this image so much, and I have that print somewhere. Maybe we'll get to it sometime. It's nice. It's a large print. Dakota McFadden. So I remember liking this. Not just the art, but the story. That's the thing with zines sometimes. It's really hit and miss, and most of the time it's miss. So when you meet somebody and see somebody in the park that has a stack of these that they're selling for $2 or $4, whatever I paid for this, you don't, sometimes you don't know how, whether most of the time they're not this talented. This looks good. It reminds me of Charles Burns, doesn't it? Oh, this is cool. This looks kind of good. I mean, I already read it, but I would read it again, and then maybe we'll make a video about it. So thanks for sitting here and looking at some stuff with me. Just a few of the new toys that were sitting on the table from the past couple weeks. These Ultra Monsters, and then these books that I just pulled out. And that's all we did. I hope you enjoyed it. It was good to see you guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy your day. And I'll talk to you later.